to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. This right here is episode number 100. That's right, 100. 100 times Tron and the 10-inch Cowboy have been coming at you. You, as in the Warzone Amateur Hour community, the lifeblood of this fucking Call of Duty game. The guys that get up, take care of their kids, go work 8 hours, maybe more, come home, maybe make dinner, whatever, get shit done, and then find the time to grind in the Warzone. You've been along, and guess what happens later this week? We enter officially the new era, the next 2 years era, which is an eternity in the world of Warzone, of Call of Duty, and soon enough Warzone 2. So with that said, we got quite a bit to dive into this week, but before we get into any of that shit, I'm gonna turn to the 10-inch Cowboy, who, if you had charted this man's growth since the start of this podcast, I mean, wow, what a hero's journey he's been on. So yes, Cowboy, how was your week in the Warzone this week on our 100th fucking episode?
Wow, 100 episodes. Never thought that we would get here. Frankly, because I have a hard time committing to things, and 100 episodes is a big commitment. But we're here, and it's great. You asked me how my week was in the Warzone. It was non-existent. I was traveling this week. Had to go visit Lady Cowgirl's family in a different part of the old US of A, and I didn't have the luxury of bringing my PlayStation with me, but I took it as an opportunity to reset and think about my goals that I want coming up for Warzone 2, and it's made me a little more tenacious in, I think, my passion for coming at the game or on it. And so, excuse me, I think I should point out the Cowboy had a late flight last night, so I'm doing my best to hang in there today. I'm going to bring the positivity, but I'm going to lean on you, Tron, because I know that you spent some time playing the multiplayer or the campaign. Make sure I use the right terminology this week. So we will be, I'm sure, discussing that as well as other things. But no, my week was humble. I'll just put it that way. How was your week in the Warzone, or are we even ready to dive into it?
I had some games in the Warzone this week, and it was, maybe it's a timing thing nowadays. It seems like you almost got to time your sessions, because we played later in the day, late afternoon, back-to-back days, and it was horrific. Like we've said, it's like, I don't think I've ever played Tekken or any of these fighter games, but it feels like if you're an amateur of any sort or have any sort of disadvantage and you step into this world, it's like, you just got your little fucking starter Pokemon kit and you're going up like in some tournament with these guys that have been harvesting Pokemon cards since like they could fucking crawl on the ground, and you're just getting exploited every which way. Like there's no easy ways to do anything. So honestly, the sessions were pretty brief. And nothing's changing in the Warzone, obviously. That shit is set in stone. I think they've, the rubber stamp is on Warzone 1, and now we're just waiting for Warzone 2 to arrive on our shores. So it was a quick week for Warzone 1, but it's so crazy now that we're talking about this, is we've stepped into the new dimension. Like, I took the fucking pill. I had that weird mirror shit happening this week, and that was because I got my first taste, not just beta taste, but genuine taste of the steak from the kitchen, and that was, yes, indeed, the Modern Warfare 2 campaign, which, gotta say, I was a bit sad you weren't there along for the ride right off the get-go.
I know. Life sometimes happens, and you gotta keep your partner's happy, and yes, I know. But I was following a lot of marketing, a lot of commercials. It's like, I try to take a break from it and get ready, and it's just like I'm just getting pounded by TV commercials. They have commercials on like the NFL games now. like Call of Duty Modern Warfare commercials. It's everywhere. So yes, I thought about it a lot as well. But I mean, can we dive into this? I want to hear. I don't have a perspective on this. I'm waiting for you to enlighten me.
Well, a few things, yes, before we do.
Wow, you're teasing. I've taught you how to tease. You're teasing really well today.
Oh, yeah, you've taught me how to tease.
Yep.
But, speaking of significant others, you kind of, in talking about what a phenomenon this is, all the advertising, yeah, it's infiltrated every sport. I mean, their newest commercial features, like, I feel like athletes from all the main sports, including, like, Formula One. We had Lando Norris showing up, McLaren driver, but... essentially, like, I tried to explain to my significant other, because I had to spell it out for her, like, look, I might be taking off some days of work coming up here to fucking really dig in. And she's like, oh, you've said this before, that it's the biggest thing in Warzone. And I had to, like, illustrate for her what a monumental thing, like, there's never been a higher bar, I don't think, ever, for in terms of anticipation of, both Modern Warfare 2 as a standalone game, and then obviously Warzone 2 as that, like, accompanying dime piece. And so I kind of illustrated for her what this means. They've done yearly releases every year virtually up until now. Now Modern Warfare has to last 2 years. It's going to be the basis for Warzone. So I'm right there with you. That's kind of why this is a fucking groundbreaking thing. Like, we didn't just hitch our wagon to some, like, sidecar fucking game. This is the biggest first-person shooter on the planet.
Yeah. And it's certainly flexing its biggest first person muscle. You know what I mean? It's letting the world know that it's coming.
But secondly was, you were missed, but I would say in terms of all the things to miss, with what's coming in the coming weeks, I would say the campaign early access. That's not like the super timeliest thing. Yeah. And the biggest, qualifier here for those of you that aren't on our Discord or not on our Twitter, which I've updated, is Cowboy wasn't there for launch date here this past week, but we damn sure are going to follow through on him getting into this game. And I want to be there alongside. I've played probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 missions. Not sure how far that makes me, like, in terms of completion. But it just, the whole time I'm playing it, all it really did was made me hyped for you to get your hands on this, because the high level notes I would say is, from my experience with the campaign, is it's fucking a ton of fun.
Ooh. Okay. Well, that's a little more positive than I thought. That's great. Fun is good.
Yeah, and I think the feedback's really been echoing that, where the big streamers playing it. I mean, a lot of these guys played through the whole campaign in a single day.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not quite there. But from what I have played, it's a ton of diversity of, like, mission types, as we kind of previewed from the trailer, like, in terms of what they're having you do, the environments. Some are stealth sniper games. There's one where you're piloting like an air support helicopter the whole time, which was, I thought it was a fucking blast. And then the most recent one I'm on, you're kind of infiltrating a secret area. So it's delivered on that. There is cartel shit. I know that the Sicario stuff is definitely happening.
Okay, so to be clear here, in my peanut brain of a video game historian, are we talking about you're not playing with other people? A campaign is a solo mission, right? It's like you're playing a video game by yourself.
Yeah, it's a series of missions or, like, chapters in a story. And so
it's a more traditional, like, video game that you would play on, like, when we used to play, like, N64 and shit, when you would go play whatever, like a first person shooter on, like, the GoldenEye.
Exactly.
Shit,
the GoldenEye missions.
Yes. Okay. That makes sense.
This is that. But obviously,
I loved GoldenEye. I played GoldenEye when I was a kid. That was one of the few that I played when I was young, was GoldenEye.
That's like
Mario.
The granddaddy of, before the online. That was the split screen era. But no, yeah. If you enjoyed that, I think you're going to have a blast with this one. In terms of storytelling, I kind of jumbled names and wasn't paying too much attention during the cutscenes, but I will say, like, structurally, it seems like they maybe, I mean, and again, campaigns are always much tighter in terms of the story because they're actually, like, thought out and they have fucking writers and shit. But the story is, like, crafted in a compelling way, I would say.
That's exciting. Okay, so you said streamers got through this in one day. How long? I mean, are we talking like 10 hours of, you grind for 10 hours and you get through it? Is it 3 hours? How long is this thing?
That's a great question. I don't know. I'm going to Google it real quick, but I got to say at least like 8 hours. I think I'm 5 or 6 hours in, and I feel like there's definitely still a lot of meat left on the bones here, but Modern Warfare campaign hours. 17 story missions. They said you can carve out around 5 to 6 hours of game time. So maybe I'm moving slower or I'm towards the end, but I feel like I'm not 17 story missions through this thing. But yeah, it definitely doesn't leave you bored. If there's anything you're like, yeah, you're in a mission, you're like, this isn't that fun. Usually they give you something fun in there, or it's over and then you move on to the next thing. So they really do give you a diversity of experiences. You get the new mechanics. Like there's one where you're driving and you can do the lean out of the car.
Oh yeah.
Mechanic. There's also, you can jump on the fucking hood of the car as it moves and jump to another car and rip them out of there and jump into it.
Wow, that's exciting. So I guess I think I gotta play this. I gotta play it. I mean, I might as well play it tomorrow and stream me playing the campaign. What do you think about that?
100%. I will be on there so we can give our live commentary and yeah, let you get your feet wet with this thing. We might end up skipping some of the slower missions because there were a few as I was playing. I was like, this would be kind of boring to watch. But the ones that are fun are incredibly cinematic, over the top stuff. But so that's kind of the high level story aspect, mechanics. But the other thing is you get your hands on a ton of new weaponry.
Yeah. Is it a whole new kind of playing field in regards to the weapons that are introduced? And are we kind of starting from a different baseline?
I mean, we've played the beta, and so we have a sense of how the guns feel. And I'd say that kind of that overall feeling of the weaponry, it's only just expanded on a more diverse level. And we only had a limited number of guns available in the beta. Well, the Modern Warfare campaign, I don't know like which ones they've left out, but I feel like 80% or something of the arsenal you have the option to get your hands on, because that's the thing. You start with 2 weapons typically. But every kind of bad guy you kill usually has guns. A lot of time they're the same ones. So you can kind of pick up, like I saw what I believed was like the new AK-47. Because again, they have weird naming now. It's like the Kazdov 5.7.2. So I gave that a whirl. They have the AUG back, or AUG with a different name. The Lockman, which we've used. There was the SPR Sniper. There's another really long range heavy sniper that you get your hands on. So you really kind of get a feeling for that. You get your feeling for the equipment. There's like a new inventory menu, at least for the campaign. So
you're going to have to walk me through a lot of this when I play, because I'm going to be confused and lost, and I might be scared.
I mean, that's the other thing about campaign is they walk you through it. Like,
oh, really?
They get you using equipment, I think, in the very first mission, like your spotter scope, trying new guns, using silenced pistols, doing the swimming mechanic, doing the driving mechanics.
So it all kind of gets you prepped and ready essentially for Warzone. It's almost like the training wheels are on. You kind of get used to playing the game and then you're ready to go.
Yeah, it's like a guided war. It's like a guided Call of Duty experience, and every time you die, you just got to go back and do it again.
Yeah.
And so I think the one thing though that stood out to me that was, I think, really fascinating and really maybe exciting or interesting is the new optics. Like there was an M4 you're running. It's like a night mission and it's got like a thermal optic. And I know they used to have thermals in the old game, but the picture on this one and the way it's like illustrates makes me wonder, like, are those going to be making a comeback in new Warzone? Because you remember early Warzone, a lot of people would run thermals.
I did. That was I just out of instinct was like, oh, I got to run a thermal. I'll be able to see people better. But that was one of my first, I used to throw thermals on fucking every gun that I had, handguns and all. That's really interesting. I'd love for thermals to make a comeback. There's something that just tickles me in a good way about like sniping with a thermal scope. Just something about that feels very amateur and very fun.
And it's just, I think that then opens up the perk space because like Cold-Blooded, that was what people would start to run to counter that.
Mm-hmm. No one's running Cold-Blooded anymore.
Not really. I mean, they kind of made a resurgence. I feel like when the what is it? The Combat Scout perk was first introduced, and everyone's running that. You can counter that. But yeah, so the scopes are really interesting. There's also hybrid scopes are making a comeback where you can flip between 2 different modes. The sniper scopes, getting your hand on those. It was cool. I guess maybe this is a minor spoiler, but there's a specific sniping mission you do, and you're shooting guys at range, and there's significant bullet drop with snipers, at least in the campaign, like significant. And so you have a spotter who literally will call out to you. He says like 2.5 notches. So then you on your little scope line that shit up. So it's just kind of cool to see like that. It seems like it's going to be maybe a big thing in the new Warzone.
That's interesting. I like to hear that the snipers are getting the love. I look forward to that mission tomorrow on the stream.
And so that's the other thing is like the names of them. I feel like maybe the X50 back or the HDR's back, but they got all new names, but there's a decent amount of snipers. Like all the weapons now have leaked in terms of what's available. So you should maybe go check out the list. There was at least, I think 7 or 8, I feel like pure snipers that are going to be in this game. Maybe that's a little generous, but I mean, the SPR was like the only one where I recognized the name though.
Wow. That's a lot of snipers. I feel like that's more than there is now.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe not total, but definitely Modern Warfare, I feel like 19. It was really, when it dropped, it was like the HDR, the X50, and then the car, obviously. No car in this new one, as far as we know. And so the SPR might be the move. But yeah, you're really getting a taste on different aspects. As I said, the recoil still plays a huge part. It feels like magazines are just overall smaller, or you burn through them faster. The equipment, everything just feels a little different.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, it's a new game, baby.
Yeah, it is. And this is 100 episodes, and we're on the door. The next time we talk to you all, we will have had our hands on the full shebanger multiplayer. We will have built our first loadouts. We will have got our first kills, started to generate our multiplayer KDs, started to level up fucking guns, kind of maybe start to find like some allegiances about where our desires lie when it comes to weaponry. Are you excited for that?
Yes. Okay. So just to remind everybody out there, what is the timeline on the release of so we have the campaign, next is multiplayer, and then it's Warzone 2, right?
Yes.
And multiplayer, I believe, is October 28th, which is
that's correct.
This coming Friday.
But they've made me aware that I think we as West Coasters get access to 27th around 10 p.m. or something like that.
Interesting.
Or no, excuse me. The 28th is a Friday. So 28th is a Friday. So 27th, I think Thursday evening. Correct me if I might be wrong.
I don't know, so I can't correct you, but that sounds right.
And then, yes, Warzone 2 on the 16th, about 2.5 weeks after that. So we will have, leading up to this launch, some Cowboy campaign action. I imagine, we're going to be going heavy on this on Friday, maybe do a stream or do some recording. But so far, excitement definitely building. I feel like definitely delivering overall on the campaign experience. Definitely, I think it was a smart move because it's whet my appetite. And I'm excited for, I can't get back in the campaign until tomorrow, but I'm really excited. I left off in the middle of a mission. I'm fucking excited to jump back in and finish it.
That's what it's all about. They did a good job, it sounds like.
They did. And so that is really in terms of where we are, where we're headed. That's lined up pretty nicely. But last week we recorded early as we announced and felt like we didn't have much to talk about. Well, sure enough, literally after, hanging up the mic, we hopped on Warzone. We saw there was a brand new playlist. It was that Rebirth Extreme mode. Do you want to talk about that?
Is that the trio, Rebirth Extreme Trio, if I recall correctly? It's been a week, I think, since I played.
I've expanded it this past week. It was all configurations, but I think it was trio or quads when it first came.
Yeah, and if I'm correct here, the ground loot was out of control, favorite weapons, all of the hits from back in the day. And it was, I had a really fun time playing that because the ground loot was so fun. You didn't really rely on having to get your loadout so often. But I really enjoyed that. Again, it's been over a week since I played it, but I feel like we hit that hard once that came out. We played that afternoon and we played for hours because it was so much fun.
Yeah, and it was fuck, we should have played this before we did the podcast, but There's a lot to talk about. It was just surprisingly a different experience with that mode. And yeah, the ground loot is all, I mean, that's a celebration of metas, it feels like. And it really shows off the diversity of where the weapons are at. Because, again, do you feel like anything's like standing out right now in the current Warzone?
Again, I haven't played in a week, but
nothing's changed since you played last.
Yeah, so I don't think I don't know. I don't even, to be honest, it's been a week. My brain has turned to jello. I don't even know what my current loadout is right now. I'd have to boot the game on and check. But I have been sniping more. Absolutely. Actually, the Gorenko, I've been using the anti-tank sniper and having such a blast sniping again. And I forgot how much fun it is to snipe on Rebirth Island. And because I used to just use, as you know, I'd roll with the car on that island all the time. And it was so much fun hopping around and sniping people. It's literally been like a year or something since that I was able to do that. And now that the Gorenko is legit, I've been using that as well. And that's been very fun. But there's great ground loot snipers in that extreme mode.
Would you rather snipe with the Gorenko in its current iteration or like the car before they nerf the whole shot?
Oh, the car for sure. The car is my. You always like to force me into a corner to create lists about things, and I think on the list of my favorite weapons of all time, the car was my favorite. It was the funnest thing to do. Just hedge sniping people, just living the dream.
Wow. All right. Well, you always say that I try and rank you, but then you go and just rank them yourself.
I wouldn't say that's how it always goes, but in this case, I beat you to it.
All right. Well, yes, indeed. That new Warzone Extreme game mode, I mean, I think it's a cool way to cap off Warzone. It's insane. You really don't even need a loadout. You can buy specialists at the buy stations, and those get discounted at fire sales. It's really like peak Warzone sweatiness, but also fun. Like, it definitely recaptured a lot of fun that I had been missing. But again, it sounds like, this Rebirth, as we talked about, this Fortune's Keep might only be hanging around here for another week and a half, as they said, get rid of them with new Modern Warfare and all that dropping. So I guess the question is, starting on Friday or Thursday night when Modern Warfare drops, do you feel like that's it? You're going to kind of cold turkey be done with Warzone? Do you plan to have a ceremonial going out day, or, I feel like the matches on Warzone 1 are maybe numbered for us, right? Or what?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the days are limited. I think, we should do something. We should play we got to play one last round, right? You get one last victory. I feel like what we should do is the people that we typically play with, we should play together until we get one last victory, and then we sign off after the victory.
I like that. Again. That's kind of beautiful.
And we salute each other in the match. You know what I mean? Make it very.
Maybe we down the last guy and they got self, and then we all stand around him and do a little fucking salute, and then just all unload on their ass.
Yeah, I like it. We should do that. The multiplayer is, we're gonna obviously be hitting that hard, but then we have another week until, is it a week or is it a couple weeks till Warzone 2?
Basically I think a week and a half, 2.5 weeks, something like that. About 17, 18 days.
Yeah, so we'll be playing the multiplayer, but we might go back to Warzone too. I mean, the multiplayer, I kind of get sick of the multiplayer, to be honest.
But at this point, it's we're grinding. We want to get them weapons as high as we can. So that first match in Warzone, when we throw on a loadout and we're going against some little fucking plebs that don't listen to this podcast, that didn't get the pre-order, that didn't level up their shit, we got a bit of an advantage. Again, that's a fleeting time where we can kind of capture that.
I agree. We'll probably be hitting it hard, and I'm sure we'll start figuring out what weapons we want, what we have, what we want to have perfect for when Warzone 2 comes, yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, I mean, I hear you. Yeah, I don't like to think too much about the future. I just let my body and mind in the current moment dictate where I'm going to presently be mentally.
Living in the present. I can respect that. And, the moments are ticking down here. Again, if you like Rebirth, if you like Fortune's Keep, you like the Resurgence, that might be gone for a while, if the rumors are true. But yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. We definitely got to get in there. We definitely got to end with a victory, which if this week had been this coming week in terms of like what the games were like, we might have been fucking waiting a while around to get that win because it was not easy.
Yeah, was it a rough week?
Rough. And that new mode that's the interesting thing about that new mode with all the ground loot's amazing. Like, you got to realize like any benefit you get, then that whole team has. So it's like you wipe this fucker. He comes back. He's going to have like a brand new FFAR all kitted out right out of the sky to rain hell on you. So it's an interesting trade-off, but it is just so night and day. It feels like different than I think how Modern Warfare 2 is going to feel in Warzone 2.
Did you have a weird, when you would play the campaign and then you go play Warzone, was it kind of weird bouncing back and forth?
I don't think I played Warzone since the campaigns dropped.
Oh, actually. Wow. You've been grinding.
Yeah, it's just real. I mean, it was like, I want to make use of it. I enjoyed it. It was like a fun thing I looked forward to playing. And it is so limited. You kind of know like, I'll get my fill. And it's not going to probably be stale, or then by the time that happens, it's over. So. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to playing it tomorrow. I am.
But in terms of predictions, I think from playing that and looking to Warzone 2, I feel like the kill totals are going to be way lower on average in Warzone 2. I feel like the pace of the game is going to be way slower. I feel like
cool.
That's just my feeling from this, but I'm really like, I'm really fucking excited to play the new Warzone because it just seems to me like hitting shots at a distance now with ARs and stuff. It's a whole different ball game. Like I feel like, I don't know, way more tactical. And the other thing is I haven't gotten to it yet, but I saw a clip from JGod playing the campaign. He's 9% sure what they do in the campaign is give you a direct taste of how like the new DMZ mode is going to be, because essentially you do crafting, which is where you like take various items you collect and then you're able to craft them into like a device. Like he makes a fucking lockpick or something in the campaign, which from the sound of it, that's how the DMZ mode is going to be. Super hardcore, collecting, crafting type of shit. Does that interest you?
That sounds like a totally different video game. You know, that doesn't sound like the Call of Duty Warzone or Call of Duty Modern Warfare that I know. Crafting stuff, that seems like, I don't even know, like some other game. I don't know. That seems bizarre to me.
Well, the more since we've talked about this escape from Tarkov, the better I've gotten an understanding. And so, yeah, in terms of the way that game plays, is it's super hardcore. Everyone, like very fast TTK. Everyone's kind of has their own various missions in this world, and some people just kind of disregard them and fuck around. But essentially, yeah, it's very hardcore. It's about collecting shit, going places, and kind of completing little things, and it varies. And so this DMZ mode does sound like it's going to be like maybe the most hardcore offering, in terms of like I don't know if they're classified as a battle royale because there's no circle or whatever, but in terms of like an online experience, it seems like it's going to be a totally different ballgame, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I hope it just draws all the sweats, you know what I mean? Hopefully it takes away some of the pressure on us amateurs and gets the people that want to go flex that, that big old sweat muscle to other sweat muscle people. I hope that they, head over there and we can have our fun times.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Is like for the people that, they want the crazy shit. They want to be cracked out. They want to dominate. They want to sit in a fucking bush and wait for 20 minutes. That's for them.
Yep. I hope so. I agree.
But in saying this, I'm kind of unlocking something in my brain of like, they're getting rid of Resurgence for Warzone 2 as far as we know. So maybe like, but I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like that style of game isn't on the cards for the coming future here. Unless you play multiplayer, like I feel like it's going to be a little more hardcore tactical experience across the board.
Yeah. Curious to play it and see it. I've never played anything like that, so it'll be interesting.
Well, when the yawns are coming out and the agenda's running dry, I think it is time for us to wrap up. I know it's 100th episode. Maybe we're expecting fireworks, but really it seems like this is just the marker. It's a finish line for the race we've been running for the last 2+ years, but it's also the starting line for the marathon that we're about to get into. Like, we've been training in the fucking mountains like Rocky IV, running up fucking icy mountains with logs over our shoulders, getting ripped out, chiseling in the multiplayer and the Warzone and the Resurgence. And now we're ready to put on the fucking gloves, get into a brand new ring, fight some Russian fuckers. At least they're kind of involved in the campaign and, you know, loosely tied here with this metaphor, right?
Yeah, totally. That's what I'm talking about. That enthusiasm. Yes, we are about to enter a stretch of a lot of gameplay, a lot of discussion, a lot of new stuff, and we're right on the edge of it. It's so interesting that we've done on our 100th episode celebration. We're right on the cusp of the next 100 episodes are going to be amazing.
Yes, they are. And that is going to do it for us this week on the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. What we lack this week in terms of podcast content, I can promise, or maybe not promise, but definitely strongly predict that we will make up for in video content, as the Cowboy's going to get his hands on his first ever Call of Duty campaign experience, doing some gameplays there. Obviously, you will find us in the multiplayer lobbies, checking out the new weapons, checking out everything that's new, you know, seeing where our KDs kind of go in terms of multiplayer.
Yeah, and this comes out on Monday, October 24th. So I will be playing on our YouTube channel, Warzone Amateur Hour Podcast YouTube channel. I will be streaming this today, October 24th. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll do the whole thing. Who knows? Maybe I have enough time to just rip right through it. Maybe it'll take me 12 hours. I don't know. But by the time you're listening to this podcast, I'm probably playing the game.
Yes, indeed. We'll be going a lot of places and we hope that you all will stay with us and be along for the ride. Thank you all so much for 100 incredible episodes. Can't believe we've still been going. We're about to span from one era of Warzone to the next. So I'm excited. I can't wait till next week. And until then, my friends,
good luck in the gulag and the campaign. I don't know if there's a gulag, but I don't think there is.
And your last potential gulags of your lifetime of Warzone.
What am I gonna say? What's gonna be the outro here once we change this up? I'm gonna have to think of something very clever.
Well, there's a new gulag in the new Warzone.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Well, good luck in the gulag.